Welcome to the second installment of what you need to know about COVID-19 relief plan in special education. Institutions, those days are over. You better speak up, parents. Okay? There is something that you can do. Don't sit on your tails on this video. If you know somebody that has a kid with special needs, share this video with them. Because if not, you're going to be stuck at home with your kids. And they're not going to be doing nothing. And then the next stop is they're going to be back in the institutions. We refuse to go back to the freaking 1960s. Okay? Because we know that our kids live in an able-bodied society and they're too quick just to throw our kids off in institutions. Go look at the history, people. Maybe I need to do an updated video on that to remind you parents, you better start speaking up. Don't think, because our school district is doing, Because once the federal law gets involved, that means the states don't have to do a ding-dong thing. Okay, let me get back to this here. So, COPA is also opposing giving Secretary DeVos broad waiver authority under the ESA, that's the elementary and stuff like that I said before, elementary, what did they say, ESA? I'm going back up to the top. Elementary and Secondary Education Act, okay? So they're also opposing the Secretary DeVos broad waiver authority under the elementary school, whatever it is, ESEA Act, because sufficient flexibility is built into the law to allow for state waivers, and COPA is also opposing supports providing states with the, okay, so basically COPA is recommending, they're not opposing, but they're recommending during this COVID-19 crisis that states will be provided additional funding that can be used under IDEA to ensure teachers, school leaders, students, and their families have needed tools for teaching and learning online, okay? And through other virtual methods. Provide extended school year to students and other compensatory services. Now, I ain't even got this far yet, but I'm telling you, it's a dirty game. Start speaking up, people. Finally, COPA is especially concerned that some members of Congress may use the national crisis as justification for giving Secretary DeVos unnecessary authority to waive key provisions of IDEA, Section 504, and ESSA. Now, let me go back. What they say that again, that acronym stands for Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Okay. Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Okay, let me take a breather. I got a little excited because just the thought that this proposal could segue into a reversal of laws meant to protect people with disabilities in this country. It's a frightening thought. But as promised, here is Betsy DeVos. I don't know why I kept saying this was a he, where clearly it's a she. I'm going to read a snippet of this biography. It states Betsy DeVos serves as the 11th U.S. Secretary of Education. She was confirmed by the U.S. Senate on February 7, 2017, after being nominated by President Donald J. Trump. Basically, what that's saying is this is a position or role that voters don't have an opportunity to pick or choose. This is somebody, if you will, that's handpicked by the current sitting president. And at this time, it's Donald J. Trump. The next sentence I want to draw your attention to is where the green line is. It reads, she, meaning Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos, she is especially passionate about reforms that help underserved children gain access to a quality education. The reason why I highlighted that particular sentence, because that right there is a contradictory sentence in terms of what IDEA laws is all about in Section 504. It's because of the very implementation of those special education laws that have afforded many kids in this country the opportunity to attend public schools and learn with typically developing students. I believe any person appointed as U.S. Secretary of Education would understand the many challenges families face in fighting for appropriate implementation of their kids' IEP. They would also have the data for each state where parents have filed complaints against school districts' failure to comply with basic IDEA and Section 504 laws. Moving on, if you want to stay updated with the latest COVID-19 relief plan bill proposal as it relates to special education students, you can log on the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Service homepage. As you can see there, they have the fact sheet. Matter of fact, that's the latest fact sheet dated March 21st, addressing this whole how school districts can approach this whole distant learning thing. And if you want to subscribe to their email list, you can do that as well. So now we're going to have to switch it up because the original ending to part 2, it doesn't make sense for me to include it now. Because guess what? My concerns from part 1 video that I was just so passionately expressing came true. So we're going to delve not into this entire memo. I'm just going to take snippets, what I think is important for you to take away. So let's look at this second paragraph here together. At the outset, the Office of Civil Rights and the Office of Special Education Rehabilitative Services must address a serious misunderstanding that has recently circulated within the educational community. I would say recently circulating is pertaining to the COVID-19 relief plan bill proposal. As school districts nationwide take necessary steps to protect the health and safety of their students, many are moving to virtual or online education, distance instruction. Some educators, however, have been reluctant to provide any distant instruction because they believe that federal disability law presents insurmountable barriers to remote education. Underscore. This is simply not true. We remind schools they should not opt to close or decline to provide distant instruction at the expense of students to address matters pertaining to services for students with disabilities. Translation: for school districts and teachers to get out of their responsibility of teaching special ed kids and offering distant learning to not only them, but their general ed students as well. They just choosing not to open their schools, or they're choosing not to offer remote learning. Because if they open the schools, they know that they have to comply with the IDEA and Section 504 laws. If they offer distant learning to general ed, they know they're going to have to offer it to special ed students as well. Because if they don't, guess what, people? That's a form of discrimination all day long. You cannot exclude one group of people. This is an example of how reluctant the school districts are, to where they're not only willing to hurt our kids, but they even willing to hurt general ed students. We're just not going to open the schools at all just so we don't have to deal with it, because we know we failed to teach these kids assistive technology skills. I know it's hard. I know it seems insurmountable, but had you been implementing assistive technology services and devices from the word go, many of our kids would be ahead of the bell curve, or at least a few notches up. if these school districts will provide the training that many of these educators lack, there is a wide range of disabilities. So for teachers to be able to teach a wide range of disabilities, each requiring individualized and specialized training, well, it's going to take more time and more work. You got to put the teacher materials together. You can't always just go to the internet and type in a math lesson plan and then voila, you're done. No, it takes a lot of creativity on the teacher's part, and it also requires trying different pedagogy methods. Okay? There's something called formative assessment. We check for understanding if that student is getting it or not. Because guess what? If they're not getting it, then this is the time for that educator to reflect. Hey, let's see what's working, let's see what's not working, and then they move on from there. Like, I need to move on to the next image. So as you can see there, this is page 2 or page 4 of the Office of Special Ed and Rehabilitative Services memo dated March 21st. I'm going to address a few things on here. First, I want to make sure that I preface, whenever you see the word may in a sentence, that means that school districts, there's flexibility on that. The school districts do not have to do that. Wherever you see the word must, that means it's a requirement. They have to do that. And also, I put the little red asterisks on there because these are the provisions or the guidelines that the school district are required to follow during this COVID crisis. For those parents watching and that have filed the state complaint, it may be a possibility that it'll take the state longer than 60 days to get back to you. If you do receive a notice saying that they're going to have to extend your complaint due to unavailability of staff, just know that they cannot do that. As you can see clearly right here. So no state can use unavailability of staff to not process your filed complaint. Parents that file a due process complaint. So it says that the local educational agencies must convene a resolution meeting within 15 days of receiving notice of parents' complaint unless you agree, parent, in writing that you want to waive the meeting or you want to use mediation. So just know, if you filed a due process hearing, there is no flexibility on that. They still got to meet that 15-day timeline unless you put it in writing that you want to waive the meeting or if you want to do mediation. IEPs, or individualized education programs. It reads, IEP team must meet and develop an initial IEP within 30 days. So for those parents that requested a full individualized evaluation be performed on a child, an FIE, the school district does not have flexibility on that. They still must comply with the 30-day timeline. Students with existing IEPs and that need to meet with the school district for their child's annual IEP meeting, just know that there's flexibility in that due to this COVID-19. The school districts do not have to meet with you face-to-face. They can suggest teleconferencing and video Skyping. So if you have past issues or pending issues, this is not the time to bombard these emails, these school districts' emails, demanding a face-to-face. You're going to lose that fight, parents. We're going to have to learn how to work with the school districts as well. All right, good people, that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found the content informative and useful.